I had an inkling that maybe I could last 3 months. I wasn't very optimistic in my abilities, to be honest. I think we underestimate ourselves quite a bit. I think I was just saying, okay, I'm just gonna last 3 months. I'll see what that takes me. And then 6 months into it, I really went through some transformations and the idea of like maybe this is what's really filling my heart.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. Today, I am talking to a lady called Tsvety Roo. She is a solo traveler, a podcaster, a speaker, and I know that she is a lot more, and we are going to find out now while we will be talking to her. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Tsvety.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about our adventures together.
So am I, and we have a lot in common because you travel a lot. And one thing that I'm always interested in is solo traveling, because I'm also in a huge Facebook group, which is women over 50 who are travel solo. And it's so interesting how some women are so insecure about that. So you actually help people become more comfortable with traveling on their own, don't you?
Yes, exactly. So I started talking about this unconventional lifestyle that I've been living for the last 2.5 years now. And I lived in 22 countries. I don't have a permanent home. A lot of people are like, where is your home base? And I say, it's a storage unit in San Diego, California. So there's not really a home base to come back to, which is another portion we can talk about, like the idea of what a home is. But solo traveling as a woman, I would say there are definitely differences, especially around safety. But generally, in both genders, we're battling kind of similar things. We're all, I think, the increase of loneliness that's going on in the world right now. It doesn't matter what your age. I think it's just overwhelming all of us, and men and women. And I think just the differences about safety is kind of the only ones that I have seen as sort of like the big difference. But otherwise, we're all in it together. We're all battling the same thing. And as a solo traveler, I think I want to just share with everybody that it has transformed my life. It wasn't anything strategic that I started off doing, and I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna go off by myself. Like that there wasn't. It was not it wasn't thought of, but it was something that I have been sort of in the back of my head. It's been a dream. It's been this yearning, and I stopped stifling it. After a while, I just said, like, maybe I'm going to give myself permission to go after this. And I think a lot of people are in this boat. I'm so glad that I've helped a few so far, and I'd love to help more, kind of say it's possible. And I know it's scary. I've been through the fear, but with some of my advice and my teaching and some of the mistakes that I've been through, I know that a lot of people can do it if that's something that they're yearning to do.
You know, I think one of the biggest fears that people have is losing control. People want to know what's going on. And, there is this famous saying, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. And I
Mhm.
think that is very often the case. People want to know what's going to happen, and they want to know where they will be in 2 years, and they want to. But if I understand you well,
Mhm.
the whole idea is to just start, isn't? Of course, you have to think about it a little bit, but if you think about it too much, you'll never do it.
Oh, yes. I mean, you hit it right on the nail. So I had the idea in the back of my mind, and then I had this sort of breakthrough meditative walk that was very therapeutic. It was in San Diego, and I had the realization, I want to do this. I'm going to give up my apartment. I'm going to start traveling, and it took 9 months from that point of decision making where I was like, yes, I'll do this. I'll give up the apartment. I'll start traveling. And then it was another 9 months of thinking and overthinking, sort of until I finally booked the flight. So I can relate to people out there who are just, I don't know about this. Maybe yes, just taking that first step, that making that action. Once I booked that for the first flight, and it was a one-way flight. Oh, going back. But there was in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, I could always come back. I could always come back. And it doesn't even have to be this extreme as the way I sort of put myself in. I think a lot of people can just do 3 months, uh, or 2 weeks, or just start somewhere and start maybe even smaller, maybe do a day trip first, just to get comfortable with traveling by yourself. And so there's a lot of tips like that too.
So when you started, did you know how long you were going to do it? Did you have,
No,
no, you didn't. So you also didn't know how many countries you were going to go to.
no, at all. I thought I had an inkling that maybe I could last 3 months. I wasn't very optimistic in my abilities, to be honest. I think we underestimate ourselves quite a bit. And so I think I was just saying, okay, I'm just gonna last 3 months. I'll see what that takes me. And then 6 months into it, I really went through some transformations, and the idea of like maybe this is what's really filling my heart. And I am so proud of the way that I have sort of understood that the self-awareness that came from solo travel it was such a benefit, such a gift. And then I also talk about that, the transformation from my loneliness, which is the reason why, like years of loneliness that pushed me to dig deep to find sort of the what's going on, like why am I struggling, why am I stuck, why am I disconnected from the world, like all of these questions. And it wasn't until I started to dig deep and figure out that I've been putting off this sort of adventure, this dream, and now it's the transformation from that loneliness into solitude, which I don't know if whole lot of people understand the difference. When I talk about it, they're like, wait, isn't that the same thing, loneliness and solitude? And they couldn't be further from apart, so loneliness comes from this lacking. You're disconnected from yourself, you're disconnected from the world, you are stuck, you feel small, you don't feel at peace. And so when you embrace that time with yourself, which is what solo travel gave to me, you have that sort of opened up that part of yourself. You're finding a bit more peace within yourself. You're feeling more just powerful in a way. And so you're taking that emptiness that you experience, and you're filling yourself up. Mhm.
Amazing. And you've mentioned loneliness twice since the beginning. And
Yeah.
it's crazy that in this world full of social media where everybody knows everything about everybody, there is more lonely people than ever. And one thing that I have noticed, because I was a tour guide when I was young, before we had phones, and I used to speak to people on planes. I've met the craziest, most interesting people on a plane. And that doesn't happen anymore because everybody looks at their phones.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And that's the other part too, is that I had to consciously put my phone down to be present. We're forgetting how to be present in the moment, in the country, in the city that we're in. And so that was a huge point where, if I'm gonna have lunch by myself in a new country, which is very normal. If you're traveling alone, you're gonna have a lot of meals by yourself, which may sound scary. But then once I put that phone down and I wasn't so addicted to it, and I just looked up and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm in Portugal, or I'm in France, or like let me take it in, let me take this environment in. And then somehow I start a conversation with the table next to me, and then we end up having, there was, in this particular instance that I'm thinking of, it was in Porto, Portugal. I was at lunch, and there were the three young ladies in their 20s, and we started chatting. And then fast forward to 7 hours later, we explored the city together. We went to a bar together. So I became kind of their fourth person. And that was literally, I just put the phone down. I put the phone down.
But you see, I think this is a very, very important point because you put the phone down. So they started talking to you, but they wouldn't have started talking to you if you hadn't put the phone down because they thought she doesn't want to be spoken to. And I think
Exactly.
that's very often like because I love talking to people. I could talk to anybody anywhere. But when
I
you
can
see
see it's amazing.
when you see that people look at their phone or maybe at their laptop or something, you don't want to disturb them because you feel that like maybe they're doing something important. And I think this whole whatever it is, this whole connectedness that we have has completely disconnected us.
Yes, yes. It's sort of pushed us to be in our own worlds, and then not in a positive way, I would say. And so I think that plays a huge part. That's my lesson number two, actually, is because of this whole we're trapped in our digital technology and social media. Uh, Putting that down and becoming more present, and then being open to the connections that you're going to experience as a traveler. It's inevitable. Like if you are present in the moment, it just happens naturally most of the time. And then I also made it a point to start conversations. And I know for a lot of people that's very difficult, but as the two benefits coming out of solo travel is one being understanding the transition into solitude and embracing that. And then the second one being building these meaningful connections. And I have met, I'm sure, like you, so many people with it's so fascinating histories and experiences and different ages. You never know where you're going to meet them. But I do make it a point to, if they're willing, if they're, you know,
If they put the phone down.
if they put the phone down, and if they don't, they kind of look up at you, and they give you like a very short answer to your question, then you know that they're not really in the mood. I understand the social cues there, but I would say probably 90% of the time when I have approached someone, or if I started a conversation, someone sitting next to me, or a lot of the times it's at wine tastings, or I recently, and I know you're from Switzerland. I made a friend from Switzerland, and we were on the same beach in Thailand, and that was so cool because I just went up to her and I said, "Do you mind sharing the shade on this very hot beach in Thailand because I'm burning alive." And so it was very cool that's such an interesting way to meet somebody on the beach, just trying to share a shade. But it so happens to that we made a very strong connection there too.
Yeah, I think, and in this world where we are right now with all the wars and all the whatever crazy stories,
Mhm.
I think it's so important that as individuals, we don't know borders. We don't, it doesn't matter where this person is. For me personally, I absolutely don't care where somebody is from. If they are nice to me, that's good enough. And I think that is, especially when you travel on your own, it's very important.
It is, yeah. The intuition point, kind of following your gut. I haven't met only amazing people. I have to be honest about that. There are some people that are a little bit like, ooh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. Who were the nicest and who were the craziest people you met, or the not nicest?
I think, yeah. So I would say the nice people initially, maybe they're a little bit skeptical, which is normal, which is like, why am I talking to them?
What does
But
she
then
want?
exactly, what does she want? Is she trying to steal my stuff? And it's interesting. But then once I am vulnerable with them, and I tell them like, oh, I'm a solo traveler. I'm also going from this country to this. Have you been to this country? And kind of like asking them a little bit more from this common travel theme if we're in the same place. And then somehow it opens up and we start talking about relationships, and then especially if it's girls, and who broke up with whom, and it's like these common global themes that really tie us all together and remind us of the humanity and how really more we have more in common than not.
Yeah, this is so true. I always say that, like I'm a mother, and when when you start talking to somebody, no matter where, whoever they are, you start talking about your children, and you start talking about we are all women. We all have, I don't know, menopause or period pains, or I don't know.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all the same people, and
Yeah.
this is one thing that people so often forget. And I think this is when you travel like you do, I think you sort of relive it a little more, because when we are in our little box and we go to work and we go home and we don't speak to anybody, we judge so easily. I think one of the biggest problems in the world is judging.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and the judgment, I'm still working on that despite having been to all these different countries and met different people, and I think there's some stereotypes that I'm still fighting against in a way, because when I was in Thailand, I met this lovely my Airbnb host. She this similar age as me, which I'm going to be almost 40 in 2 months. And so we have the same sort of age, and she was also not married, didn't have any kids, and I had this preconception that I said, oh well, I saw people in Asia, there was more pressure to have the family and whatnot than Western societies, and that was a big misconception on my part, honestly, because she's like, no, no, I have my own business, I have my boyfriend, and I was like, wow. I was so wrong.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
wasn't until I went there, met a person from like northern Thailand culture, and I was like, oh, interesting. What, like, I have such a, the way media portrays certain societies, and the narrative that we're being fed is about certain countries, and then you realize once you go there, you're just like, oh, there's so much more to this, and just a glimpse of a different culture that was painted in a different way for us.
So much propaganda, I know, and so much wrong information, and like talking about one person out of, I don't know, 10 million who did something, and then you think they're all those 10 million are like that, and that's how we
Yeah.
are, isn't it? We have this, I don't know, and you were so right, because I consider myself a very open-minded person, but I do it too. Sometimes when I hear something, when something happened, I actually ask, well, where was he from? And then I have to stop myself. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? It's so wrong, so wrong. But yeah, we all do it, I think. And, we live and learn. I think we can sort of get better and better as we move on. Now, 22 countries in how much time?
In 2.5 years. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is. It is. I started pretty aggressive the first year, and I was going like every 2 weeks to some, and it was a bit much because I think I was doing it more in the beginning. It was a lot of transitions and a lot of sort of figuring out what is going on. And so now I've slowed it down this year. I try to stay at least a month in each place. I think a month gives you not only like your body to settle down a little bit, but for each country, there's so much. All the countries that I've been to, they have so much to show, like from a cultural perspective, from meeting different people, and you get a little bit more embedded into it, and I like that. I like learning not just like a tourist, uh, like sort of tip of the iceberg sort of thing. And so that I also tried to stay in homestays. I stayed in homestays when I was in Bali. I didn't stay in resorts, not only for budget reasons, by the way. I'm super budget friendly. In order to do this for a long time, you got to figure out the tips and tricks. Happy to share them with people. Just kind of hit me up on my website and Instagram and whatnot, and I'm happy to share. And so I stayed in homestays in Bali, which is basically it's like a family run little mini hotels. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but basically they live there and then they rent out sort of either 6 rooms or 3 rooms. And so they make you breakfast in the morning. And so you see their kids also running around right there. So you have a little bit of a taste of what their life is like. And I like that.
I think that's very lovely, and to actually speak to somebody local, because what you when you were saying that you started a little bit aggressive at the beginning, it's this country counting. I think when one
Yeah.
starts, you think, oh my God, I have to do as much as possible, and then there are these people who travel in I don't know how many countries there are, something like 190, and they do it in a year, and I
Yeah.
think. What is this? If
Right.
being in a country for 2 days, in my opinion, doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's nice to see and kind of check the touristy things, but you definitely should go back and
Hmm.
like stay longer to get fully immersed and to understand maybe, and there's just no way you can do everything in 2 days. It just
No.
doesn't happen. And even for when I was doing it with like 2 weeks at a time, it was still not enough, I think, uh, for certain countries. And so yeah, I like this year. I stayed 2 months in Spain. I was 1 month in 3 weeks in Bali, 1 month in Thailand. So a little bit kind of slowing it down, and then that way too, I've kind of started to build little mini communities, mini tribes. I call
Yeah,
them.
that's perfect. Did any place in in this trip so far or in this time, does anything stick out? Is there anything that you like more? Because I sometimes ask this question, and I know it's actually a stupid question, because which one did you like most? Because everything is nice and everything has two sides. But did
No,
anything?
no, no, don't be so hard on yourself. It's not a stupid question. Not at all. I think the recent one I really liked northern Thailand, Chiang Mai,
Mhm.
a lot. And I thought it would be so different from where I grew up, being born in Bulgaria, growing up in the US. And I thought I wouldn't be able to relate to the culture, but I felt so at home there, especially in northern Thailand, where it's a lot less tourism. It's, kind of like the south is all the islands and
Yeah.
it's like an island vibe and whatnot. But in the north, and yeah, there's the like Buddhism up there, and just sort of the temples and the food. I love Thai food, and they have so many markets and everything. I love that cultural portion of it. So yeah, I'll be back to Thailand for sure.
You make me want to go. I was a tour guide when I was young, and I worked in Phuket for 6 months, many years ago in 1990. And
Mhm.
I had so much fun with the Thais. Okay, your area. I've been to the north as well. The south, of course, is much more touristy, but
Yep,
they are just lovely, lovely people. And most of the
they
time, we didn't
are.
understand each other, so we had even more fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I love the respectful part of
Yeah.
it. Coming back to being a female solo traveler, no one, from the men, like the gaze that happens in certain countries where it makes you feel super uncomfortable. You just like kind of like, not to pick on the guys, but there are countries where you just like they are staring at you, and perhaps like sometimes getting a little too close, but. In Thailand, that's not a thing. Like
No.
men are very respectful, and they're just so overwhelmingly nice. That in my experience.
Have you had any bad experience in these 2.5 years? Have you had a scary moment or any scary moments?
Yeah, so actually in Cyprus.
You're joking. What happened here?
So this was very, very early on. I think it was my fourth month into travels, so about 2 years ago. I didn't understand that you guys are still celebrating. It was on the Greek side. I went to Paphos, and it was still on it was the coming out of Easter. And I arrived on Monday, right after Easter, and everything was still closed. Like there were very few taxis. Like I got to my Airbnb and the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So I called the landlady, and I said, I have to be connected. I have like a project that I'm working on. And she's like, oh, yeah, the Wi-Fi guy's not gonna come till Wednesday. So that's two days from now. I was like, what? And then it became even like crazier because I had to find a different Airbnb because I was like, my project's due tomorrow. I can't wait 2 days for the IT person to come. Then I was trying to get to the next Airbnb. Then it was at night. Then it was a bit dark. And I know that area is very sort of like just getting built up at that time. And it was like resort next to resort. I just did not do my research. I admit that for 100%. I didn't understand island living as well, like all of these things that you have to keep in mind. And I tell a lot of people, like, when you travel somewhere, do your research, figure out if there's a holiday and if anybody's working. And then the next Airbnb in Cyprus, I experienced the huge ants that you guys have. Oh my goodness. I've never seen ants so big in my life. And they kind of like were everywhere. They were on the couch. I was just like, oh, okay, alrighty. So it was kind of like one thing after another. I did get approached by this very creepy guy, but thankfully I was able to kind of like maneuver that. Like a lot of things happened in Cyprus in that week. And I was just like, oh God. But yes, I need to come back.
I know. I was just going to say because well, number one, Easter is probably the most important holiday here.
Mhm.
So that I understand. Nobody wants to hear any, even the shops, because the shops here are always open, but
Yeah.
even the shops are closed on these days. But generally, Cyprus is a very, very safe country. But you just,
Yeah.
sometimes you are at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you need to come back and you need to
Yes.
go around with me. And this will never
Okay.
happen to you again.
I will take you up on that. I need a better experience of Cyprus for
Definitely,
sure.
definitely. Now, you were born in Bulgaria and you
Mhm.
said you grew up in the US.
Yes,
How old were
exactly.
you when you went to the US?
I was 10 years old. So yes.
Oh, you do have memories. I mean, you
Of
obviously
course.
speak Bulgarian. Are your parents both Bulgarian?
Yes. Yes, yes. So yes, I'm bilingual. I speak both languages. Sometimes a little funny when I speak Bulgarian, and I some words don't come to me quite as easily as when I speak English. But I think there's a big part of that as laying the foundation for my travel bug that bit me later on in life because having this dual identity and being exposed to two very different cultures, uh, maneuvering that most of my life, both in a good and a bad way, it opens you up a lot more too.
Did your parents go back when you were young? When was the first time you went back to Bulgaria after you were 10?
I was 14, so it was a while. Back then, it was 1999. I'm dating myself now. I went back for the first time, and then I would go back to Bulgaria every 4 years or so, just because it was more expensive back then. It was also once I started working in the States, you don't really get a whole lot of vacation time. So good to go back to Bulgaria was just like an investment of time, and that was basically my vacation for the year. It
Hmm.
was I would just go back. And so it was generally, I went back every 4 years. And then my parents retired and moved back. And so that was a bigger incentive to come back more often. And so that, yeah,
Whereabout are you? Because you're there right now, aren't you? You're talking to
yeah.
me from Bulgaria.
Yeah, no, I'm in Sofia, Sofia,
Okay.
the capital. And so my parents are from the south, and yeah, so it's nice to have like the two different cities. And some of the people that I've met here in Sofia have never been to my hometown, which is it's not even a town, it's a city. It's one of the bigger cities, and it's so funny to me because I'm just like, you guys venture out, even in in your country, and there's something to say about that too. And it's not just for Bulgarians. Like, I think people are just so used to staying in their own cities. They're not even branching out within their own country. So when I say take some first steps about solo traveling, maybe explore your own country first. Do some day trips. There's so much just near you as a sort of starting point to solo travel, because I know a lot of people have said to me, they're just like, oh, I could never do what you do. It's
Yeah.
not like I wouldn't enjoy it. And I said, okay, well, there's something there. Let's start there. Why do you think you wouldn't enjoy it? And so, we talk it through, and I'm able to tell them sort of, if you enjoy time, a little bit of time by yourself, you're going to build that confidence. You're going to open yourself up to the world more, into new experiences. And so it's a process, and you can't just kind of like completely have that mind shift right away. And I understand this, and it was a process for me too, but it is doable, and it's very rewarding.
I think so too. Now, there's one thing that I often read, and and over again, it's eating alone and not getting the table that people want because they are on their own. What is your experience with that?
Yeah, sometimes, especially if it's like a nice restaurant or busy restaurant, they love to put me in the bars. They're like, "Oh, you're by yourself? Okay, well, here we have a place at the bar." I was like, "Well, actually, I want a table, so let's get a table." But then, 10 months into it, I decided to take myself out to a fancy dinner, and I wasn't celebrating anything. Maybe I was celebrating something, now that I think about it. But it wasn't. I was in Berlin, and I had wanted to go to this very fancy restaurant, Tim Raue. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
No, but yeah,
Yeah, it's a like a Michelin star, and
yeah.
I said, if I'm gonna eat alone at a nice place, it's gonna be the nicest place that I can think of in the place that I'm in right now. And so I went and I booked myself a lunch, and I spent like 250 euros on this. And it was a 5 course meal, and it was so rewarding. And I was the only person by myself, and everyone would say, "Oh, did people point at you? Did they look at you? Did they do?" I said, actually, I got more attention from the servers checking in on me and having a conversation with me, and sort of I was in heaven. And it's that attitude that when you go and you have, you're embracing that time with yourself, having this amazing meal, just celebrating you being there, being present, and just enjoying, then that energy kind of goes throughout. And it's not like people, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, if I go, people are going to feel sorry for me, or they're going to point at me, or all of these fears that we think other people will do. And I just, either I don't see it, or I just don't experience it that way.
Yeah, you see, this is exactly what I wanted to mention now. You took my words because this is the thing. It's attitude. It's the way you go and ask for that table. Because if you go there thinking, oh my God, what are they going to think? And they're not going to give me a table and they are going to put me in a corner. Then that's what they do when you think all these things. But when you
Yeah.
go there full of confidence and you say, I'd like a table, I'm by myself, and they want to put you in the back and you say, no, I don't want to sit there. I want to sit there. They will
Yep.
give it to you. This is my experience. It always
That's
makes me
true.
laugh a little bit. It's a bit of a victim situation, don't you think?
I agree. I agree with you. Yes. And that is a good segue into the safety portion of solo travel. Again, it's about the attitude. And when you walk around, don't make yourself small and a victim. As a female solo traveler, I tell people walk with intention, walk like you've been there before. Clearly, you probably don't look like the locals, but just walk with that attitude, with that intention, like you've been there before, like you know where you're going, you know how to get there, etc. Even if you're gonna come around the same way, just kind of put your shoulders back, walk with intention, have like a sort of focus point, and then you're going to be definitely less of a victim for anyone who is thinking about attacking you. And so I think that's huge. That's very important from a safety perspective. It's so minimal, but it makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's all about attitude. It's all about confidence and the way you carry yourself. Now we're coming to the end, Sveti, but I
Oh,
want,
already?
yeah,
No.
well, if you we can go a little longer if if we forgot something, but I want to tell for those people who are listening, I want, because you have a website, I
Mhm.
want you to tell them how can they can find you, what you can do for them, what do you offer, and yeah, what else what else would you like to say?
Yeah, no, yes. So my website is Tsvety Roo, and it's the spelling is
We
T.
will put I will put
Oh, okay,
the
great.
link in the show notes.
Oh, great. So it'll be because it's a little bit of a different spelling, but yes, SvetiRoo.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram. And what I do, I offer through my website. You can book some time with me and we can do a one-on-one session where we can evaluate what is holding you back from from booking your first solo travel experience and how I can help to get that fear pushed to the side and make that first step. So I also offer some simple guides, just a few steps on how to get started, and those are free. So those are downloadable on my website. And so yeah, and then please follow me on Instagram because I do have a mission. I really want to inspire 1 million people to become solo travelers. Let's do it. We can do it.
We will help with that. Now, what's in the future? What you're now in Bulgaria? Are you staying? Are you going to stay? Where what's next?
Oh no, so next is another personal goal of mine. I am hoping to climb Kilimanjaro next month. So that's coming up in August. So I'll be in Tanzania, whichever.
Tanzania. Yeah.
Tanzania. And I know I saw that you actually just
I
recently.
was in February. Yes.
So I mean, I'm gonna be hiking most of it, but please tell me
Stay a
recommendations.
little longer. Do a little
Oh,
stuff. Go to the Serengeti. Don't go to Tanzania just to. I mean, Kilimanjaro.
hike.
I never did that. I'm not. I hike all the time, but I never did. But Tanzania is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful country.
Wonderful.
Stay a little longer if you can.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try. But so far, we booked the trip and how it all came about. I had it since I was in seventh grade. This other dream, in addition to my travel dreams, and I'm making it happen next month. Oh my goodness.
Fantastic. Fantastic. The people are beautiful. We did, obviously, we did safari, but we also, one thing that really I will never ever forget in my whole life was the balloon ride during sunset over the Serengeti. That's one of the best
Wow,
things I've ever seen in my life.
that sounds magical. Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
So I am following you, and everybody else will be following you from now on, and we will see what's going to happen in Tanzania. And in the meantime, I think we've covered most of what I wanted to cover. Anything to add?
No, I think as a sort of last summary is if you're feeling very lonely and stuck in your life, you try to consider maybe going on a solo adventure, and then it could perhaps transform you.
Perfect ending. Thank you so much for being on Most Memorable Journeys today. Sveti Roo.
Thank you.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.